Everybody, good afternoon. My name is Tony Saramatis with Truly Wow. We are ARA's marketing and communications partner, and I'd like to welcome you to ARA's continuing education webinar series for January. We have a great guest today. He's going to share some absolute gold to help you grow your recovery business. But real quick, before we get started, I have a couple of housekeeping items. First and foremost, we've got everybody on mute just to keep the background noise to a minimum. With a group this size, that's got to be done. However, we encourage you to ask questions, and we've set aside 20 minutes or so at the tail end for Q&A. If you want to ask a question, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen and type it in. And that way we'll queue up those questions and we'll be able to answer them in the order that they come in. So with that, I'd like to take a minute just to introduce our guest today, Brennen Hamilton. Brennen is the founder of Rapid Recovery Agency Incorporated. He established this business in 2007 as a one-person operation, and today Rapid has grown to over 100 employees in 5 locations across Florida and is one of the state's largest repossession agencies. As the business grew, Brennen realized that tracking the real revenue drivers in his business was way too difficult, way too time-consuming. So fast forward a little bit to 2019, he set out to build a software tool to fix that problem. And it worked so well for his own business that he decided to share it with the industry, and Insight was born. Insight Basic was released in June of 2023 and is revolutionizing how repossession businesses are tracking, collecting, and using key metrics data to grow their profitability. So with all that being said, Brennen, thanks for being here. Take it away.
Tony, you're too kind. Thank you for the fireworks and that introduction. Hey, thank you everyone for joining us. Before I start, should I say, just want to ask that everyone just bow their heads real quick and just say a quick prayer. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So, Father God, this past year marked the deadliest year for our industry. And I just ask that you bring peace, comfort for all the friends, the family, the colleagues that were affected by the senseless acts of violence, to all of our agents in the field, dear Lord, that are just trying to provide for their families and earn a living. We come before you and we ask that you just watch over and protect all of our drivers, keep them safe, bring them home each day. And we're just grateful for all the love and the grace that you give us on a daily basis. And I pray your blessings and your protection over everyone here, dear Lord. We love you. We thank you. We pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right. So I'm going to, yes, sir. Thank you. Let me figure out how to share my screen here. All right. Can everyone see and hear me okay? Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. So before I get started into the presentation, I just want to first tell my story and how I came to be in this business in the first place. It's kind of interesting, and I think it's beneficial for everyone to learn it and understand it. So with all that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you what happened. So my professional career started at a very tender age of 18, and I managed to weasel my way into a company called Seisint. And Seisint had a product that they had developed, which is called Accurant. And if anyone is familiar with the product Accurant, Accurant is a database that is used for skip tracing. And just a side note to that, the founder of Seisint is also the founder of TLO. So all the knowledge, he actually went through 3 different systems. He sold first to ChoicePoint, then he sold Seisint and Accurant to LexisNexis, and then he also then created TLO, and then he ended up passing, and it was ultimately sold to TransUnion. And I tell you all that because I did this job for 5 years, and I was in sales. And so during the course of my young career, my job was to sell this system, this database, to attorneys, law enforcement, collection agencies, anyone that had a legitimate purpose to essentially locate someone. And I knew the system like the back of my hand, from every intricate detail, like the sources that we had, how often it was updated. I mean, I really knew the system very, very, very well. And with all that being said, it allowed me, I did this for 5 years before venturing into the whole repossession industry. And how I got into the repo industry is kind of unique and godsend. Back then, I used to ride motorcycles a lot, and I had a friend of mine that I used to go riding with, and this friend of mine had a towing business, and his towing business, he did tows for like the local used car dealerships all throughout our area here in Fort Lauderdale. And Florida is like, one of 5 states that regulate repossession, so you need a license in order to repossess. And to his disadvantage, he had a criminal record, so he was never able to get that repossession license. So he was doing it illegally, and he bugged me for months to send me to this course, to this school, in order for me to get my repossession license. And I literally ignored him for months on end. And then out of nowhere, like literally without even calling me or anything, he just shows up at my door one day and in his tow truck, and he says, "Hop in the truck." And so I get into the tow truck, and he had a repossession to do in the neighborhood that I lived in at the time. And when he did the repossession, like I literally, like my jaw was on the floor. And I remember, like, honestly, like it was yesterday. I remember I remember everything. And I had to like tell him, like, "Hey, pause, let's take a time out real quick. You mean to tell me that like this is the process of repossession? Like you don't have to knock, you don't have to talk to anyone, they don't have to surrender to you. You just literally go to their house or their driveway, take the car, and then leave without telling anybody?" And it just like immediately I was attracted to it, and I couldn't believe it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. Gosh, I loved it. And so what happened was is that I left my job of 5 years. I took a mortgage out of my house and I went all in with it. And at this time, it was like 2006, almost beginning of 2007. My wife was pregnant. We were expecting twins, and I literally just quit my job to pursue a career in a business that I knew nothing about, let alone business in general. Like my business experience involved, some sales jobs that I had as a younger person, and my corporate experience for the last 5 years working at, Sizent and LexisNexis. That was the extent. So I was all in with it. And, as, and I say all that because I want to be able to let the audience know that this was all started from the ground up. And that's a picture of the very first tow truck that I bought, old Bessie. And she was a good girl. It's a UD. And these are literally notes that I took from, jumping from one buy here, pay here lot to the next, leaving my little sales notes for every conversation that I had, trying to promote and expand my business that I didn't have, right? These were my leads, and this is the people that I went to, again, starting from nothing and working my way up little by little, got some buy here, pay here lots, for the first year or two, I don't think I even paid myself. I went through every up and down. I know exactly what it's like. I lived in that truck that you see right there for like literally over 2 years before I was able to get another truck. And, the constant grind, man, 20 hours in a truck, taking a nap for 30, 40 minutes and then bouncing right back and getting into it, going on to the next address, trying to find that next car. Literally all in. Like, and I had a lot on the table. So, as I grew and as I was able to, afford insurance and actually go after like direct clients and, actual clients, forwarders, lenders, and so forth, and get away from the buy here, pay here lot, or lots, should I say? I come to find out, man, that things are just a little bit different when, you know, you're expanding and you're growing, and it's not just you anymore. Now you have to hire people. And all that said, man, like there's so many moving parts within this industry that I don't have to explain to any of you. You guys all know that, right? Everyone knows that there's just so many different things to look at, and being able to capture all of it has been very, very, very difficult during the course of my time in this business. And, you know, I've had a lot of setbacks. I've made a ton of mistakes, and I've learned from them, and we grew from them. And, you know, we were at every high, we were at every low. We experienced every single pain point that anyone could experience outside of losing someone, which again, my heart goes out to everyone that has experienced that. By far my worst nightmare. But aside from that, we grew, right? We were able to get new clients. We were able to get some directs, and you know what that transition to is more reporting. And I tried hiring people that were like smarter than me. Obviously, I didn't go to college. I didn't have a background in, you know, accounting or finance or business or anything like that. It was literally learn as you go, make the mistakes, learn from them, and keep going. And you know, it ultimately led into, you know, a position that we're in now. But you know, the point that I'm making is that there's way too many moving parts within this industry, and it's created a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of ignorance when it comes to the most important parts of our industry. And you know, I would be lying if I was, you know, when Clear Plan came out, I was super inspired by Justin and by Jordan and their story and everything they did with the Clear Plan. I had a whole laundry list of things that I needed to be done. And you know, as I move on to the next slide, like every single time I needed numbers, man, I'm literally on a piece of paper, like pulling one multi-search after another, writing this number down, then that number down, and then this number down. And it literally was an all-day event every time that I needed numbers. And it wasn't effective because I had to do this every time I needed to know where I was for that very specific time period. And it was a crutch for my expansion. It was a crutch for me to essentially grow. And it was daunting. It was very inefficient to say the least. And so, you know, when they came out with Clear Plan, I started like thinking about, you know, software and everything that it could do for us. You know, I literally put, you know, pen to paper, and I started drawing out and sketching out some ideas that I had of how I wanted a software to be. And like these are like literally preliminary sketches before Insight even came out. Like, okay, this is what this is going to do. This is how it's going to look. These are the charts that we want to be able, like the metrics. Like I'm thinking about all these different things that have been plaguing me for years and years and years, and keeping me handicapped from making wise, intelligent business decisions. Because again, you know, the information has always been so hard to get. And you know, I say that in for a variety of different reasons, and I think that it's crutched and plagued our industry for people and allowed people to prey on that, right? I think that, you know, without having to say too much, people understand how hard it is, and people will capitalize on that. And I think they have been by, you know, putting that fear or that paranoia in our minds of, hey, there's a possibility that you might lose this work, or, you know, if you don't do it, this person will. I mean, look at our fees for instance, right? Our fees are almost untouched. And for years, and ever since I've been in this business, so we're going on 17 years now. And I don't know if you like, here, I'm just going to go back a couple slides real quick. Like I have notes for like $400. This is 2007, man. Like it hasn't really changed since then. So, you know, I just want to say that because, you know, I think that us being ignorant to a lot of these metrics, understanding our businesses better, has impaired us from making intelligent, wise business decisions. And again, I just think people have used that to take advantage of us in certain areas. So aside from that, you know, I started writing down, right? That's out the way. this idea of creating a software was then planted, and now I wanted to make it a reality. So again, no experience whatsoever. And when I say that, I thought the repossession industry was hard to do, software is extremely hard to do. And a lot of hair loss, gray hairs, and 2 hair transplants later, insight actually became a reality after about 2 or 3 years of complete failure, one failure after the next. And we just kept going. We never let that discourage us, even though it did multiple times. We just kept the torch going, and we were able to actually create something and make it meaningful to not just me at Rapid Recovery, but we built it and designed it in a way to allow not just us to take advantage of it, but for this entire industry. And we have this slogan, man, this motto. It's built for us, by us, or is it by us for us? It's for us, by us. And I mean that. And this is a system that is going to bring awareness to make better business decisions in every aspect of your company. And so, with that being said, we're going to jump right into the whole talk of today's webinar, which is KPIs, right? And I'm sure that a lot of you have questions about how we were able to go ahead and by the way, everything that was posted in CU in that ARA webinar email, these are real numbers. And if there's anyone in RDN that's on this call, you have my permission to verify everything that I put in there. This is 100% true. And I just want to put some context to that. I want to say this, that our best month that we ever did as a company pre-COVID was in 2019, and we did how many we did? We did 15,109 repossessions for that year. And in 2022, I was able to essentially, after COVID did its thing, I was able to make a business decision that I was super scared about, but ultimately ended up doing, and it worked out to my benefit. And it proved that making wise business decisions, I was able to bill out more money for the ones that allowed me to bill a little bit higher than the ones that didn't, and do less repossessions overall. So again, we build out 17.33% additional revenue with doing was it 15.38 fewer repossessions. And I just want to put that into a context. That's 2,342 less cars that we did, and we billed out 17% more. It's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. And I hope that by showing you this presentation and walking you through some of the things that I did, that you guys could share in some of this success as well, and making informed, intelligent decisions as opposed to making impulsive, uneducated decisions that are based off emotion and the loss of, the fear of loss, should I say. So let's jump right into it. And, first and foremost, what the heck is a KPI, right? So for the people that might not know what a KPI is, it stands for Key Performance Indicator, which is a measurable and quantifiable metric that's used to track progress towards a specific goal or objective. KPIs provide teams with targets to aim for, milestones to gauge progress, and insights, pun intended, to help guide decision-making throughout an organization. By monitoring KPIs, organizations can identify areas of strength and weaknesses, make data-driven decisions, and take actions to optimize performance. Now, what are the benefits of KPIs? Well, the benefits of implementing KPIs, they're vast, and they're very, very, very well documented. And they include enhancing employee engagement, aligning your team with your organization's mission, and improving accountability. Improving employee engagement. So KPIs unify employees to work towards a common goal. Employee engagement, a topic that many organizations struggle with, can directly impact your bottom line, but KPIs could help. These indicators, whether individual or organizational, are a helpful mechanism to measure performance, which has a direct tie to employee engagement. In fact, organizations with an engaged workforce see higher customer engagement, productivity, and 21% higher profitability, according to the study that was done from this article that I jacked online. Two, it connects your purpose and your culture. So your KPIs should be connected to your organization's mission. Making money isn't a mission, and it's not something that employees will connect with on a deeper level either. Your purpose should encourage employees to show up to work with a renewed sense of excitement every single day, which is hard to do. Trust me, we're still working on that. And there should be a direct link between your mission and your KPI so that employees feel like their work is purposeful in achieving both. Next, makes everyone accountable for performance. So performance KPIs will help employees measure their impact and how their daily activities, arguably the foundation of their role, play into the success of larger organizational goals. KPIs set everyone off in the same direction, making everyone a happy contributor to your success. Now, what makes a good KPI? Well, the best plans use between 5 and 7 KPIs to track and manage progress. The best structured KPI plans include each element of what is called SMART criteria. And this SMART criteria came up in like 3 or 4 articles that I was reviewing, putting all this together. And so I think it's very beneficial that we throw this in there and we try to adopt this SMART criteria into our own businesses. And so the acronym is DS specific. It defines what each KPI is intended to measure and why it's important. Measurable. It should include standards for measurement. Achievable. Should be realistic and achievable goal. And relevant. It's intended to move a business forward, so they need to be relevant to improving outcomes. Time bound. It's important to set a realistic time frame based on past performance and make sure that the team sticks to the agreed upon deadlines. This is a very, very important thing to implement in all of our businesses. And I could assure you that if you do this in relation to setting up KPIs and creating goals, man, you're only gonna go up. There's no way you could hurt yourself, man. So what this does and what KPIs have allowed us to do at Rapid Recovery is that it allow us to take a really deep dive into some analysis that we just recently did literally last week. And so it's a new year. We're in January. 2023's books are closed. And I just to kind of put some context into this, I wrote down, still writing stuff down on paper. It took me about 10 minutes to do. I looked at that my entire year of 2023, and I looked at my performance, and I wanted to understand better of how I could attain a better performance, or what was my best month performance, and then how do I replicate that? How do I duplicate that performance? And so within this study, I'm just going to read it out to you really quick. It says KPIs open the door to a deep understanding of your company. This chart shows the effect of workload on our recovery rates over 1 year. Normally, each agent handles about 115 accounts with a 33% recovery rate. And when this increases to 130 accounts, the rate drops to 30. However, reducing it under 100 accounts boosts the recovery rate to nearly 40%. This clearly shows that optimizing your field agent's workload has an effect on the recovery rate. So let me explain to you what we did here, right? I looked at the entire year. What was my recovery rate? Well, my best performing month was in November, and I was at just a little over 38%. Now, what I did is I took the amount of drivers that I had and I separated them. I numbered my agents that I had for each month, my spotters that I had for each month, and then I took the amount of assignments that we had. We worked over a little over 4,000 assignments in November. And so with that being said, what we did is we just we took the amount of assignments and divided that amount by the amount of people that we had in the field. And what that ratio came out to was just under 100 assignments per every person that I had in the field. And with that, I was able to perform at the highest level that we've been able to perform at a little over 38% recovery rate. And what I learned from this, and what everyone takes away from this, is that when you look at these metrics, you could identify patterns. And this is what I encourage everyone to do. Insight will eventually start doing stuff like this automatically, but for the time being, you might have to write some stuff down and do some math yourself. This took us all of 30 minutes to compile, and it's very, very, very important and effective for me being able to understand this, because this equates to dollar values, right? So, just to put some context into this a little bit more, right? We worked 4,000 assignments that month, right? A 1% increase in my recovery rate is 40 cars, right? 40 cars has a dollar value of over $20,000 for Rapid Recovery Agency. So if I'm able to move my recovery rate percentage just 1%, we're talking about over $20,000 of additional revenue for that month. 2%, 40,000, so forth and so on. Do the math yourself, right? So it's important to see, to understand, to analyze, and to implement these type of KPIs into your business so you can make informed decisions. So at the end of the day, when I looked at this, I'm like, man, we needed our goal now, our next goal is coming into this year, is that we need to get our assignments down to always consistently. We need to have enough staff in the field to be able to make sure that by the amount of volume that we receive, that we're always below that 100 mark, because we'll, be able to perform at an optimal level. And this allows us to see that and make, again, wise business decisions by data. So with all that being said, if you don't measure it, you can't improve it. And what we don't know, how the heck are we ever going to be able to improve? And again, I just want to piggyback off what I said earlier, man. In my experience of being in this industry, there are too many parts that need attention, and no one understands better, more than me, of how hard and difficult it is to keep up, for that matter, of all the different moving parts. And with Insight, what we've been able to do is relieve you from a lot of that stress and give you the knowledge and the capabilities to measure things that we've never been able to measure before. And so with all that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and log on to Insight real quick and show you guys the product. And this is Rapid Recovery Agency's account on Insight. And as you can see, this is our overview page. Is what everyone sees when they first initially log in. And this one page is filled with KPIs all over the place. You look everywhere, and there's meaningful, impactful information everywhere you look on this page. And so let me explain to you what we're looking at, and let me go ahead and demonstrate to you what this all does. So the very first thing that I want to point everyone's attention to is, these first four cards. We call them cards, little boxes. To me, these are, the most important things for every repossession agency to pay attention to. And one of the main themes that we have in Insight is that everything that you see is in real time, right? So you'll never have to run a report. There's no multi-search tool. Every time that you log in, you're seeing your data as it's happening. So that's the first thing. The second thing, another theme that we have all throughout the platform, is that we're constantly comparing your data to the time before. We're measuring your data as your performance to how it related to the same time period the year before. So just to kind of make sense of that for everyone that might be unfamiliar, as you could see, these are all of our real-time performance metrics so far for the month of January. So today is the 24th of January, and right now we're almost at 1,400 repossessions for the month. From the 1st through the 24th of 2023, we were at 971 repossessions for that month. So we're up 41% over the same course of time of last year. And follow that same logic all throughout the rest of the platform for my recovery rate, my assignments, and a completely unique feature that we introduced into the industry called missed repossessions, another KPI that's super important, which I'll get into later. Another thing that I want to show everyone is that everything that we see in here is all clickable. And so, we wanted to enhance the experience. As you can see, every number has a green or a red, it's either green for up or it's either red for down. And those are indicators to let you know that during the same course of time from last year, you're either up or you're down. So when we look at these cards, if I want any of this broken down, like for instance, if I wanted to say, of these 1,400 repossessions, go ahead and let's break it down. Well, sure, no problem. Click on it. And it's going to go ahead and it's going to break it down from my invols, my vols, my impounds, and it automatically creates a leaderboard from greatest to least, again, with that same theme, right? That same KPI theme of letting us know if we're up or if we're down for every single client that we have. So what this shows me, all with a couple clicks of a button, that my repossessions are up for literally all the clients that I have here, and the only one that's down is GM Financial. So those are the only ones. So that tells me at a very high level that maybe I need to focus a little bit more time on some of my GM accounts in order to get those numbers up. But everything is all clickable. So if you ever wanted to go ahead and see any type of data to essentially multitask your way into, you could break the data down as much as you want. These are all the repossessions that we did so far for Ally. These VINs are clickable to take you right to the case in RDN as long as you're logged in. And we make it very easy for everyone to essentially break down the data as much as they want. And then same thing with your assignments, your missed repossessions, all of it's clickable, and it automatically breaks it down. And now I know with the click of a button that my assignments for this month are down for Capital One. So meaningful, impactful information that allows me to make wise business decisions every single time I spend an insight. And again, this all took me a matter of seconds to do, which is, again, is a game changer because historically it's taken a lot of time to be able to compile all that information. Okay, next thing I want to show you guys is that we also implemented what we call branches. And so we've created what we call insight branches. And all that really means is that, if you have more than one location, as we grew, one of my pain points were that it was very hard to not only get all the numbers that I needed, but it was even extra hard to break it down for every location that I operated out of. We have 5 locations in Florida, and being able to understand my metrics, my KPIs for every single location, again, pen, paper, this report, this number, that number, write it down. It's just right. You want to blow your head off trying to do that. And what happens is that since it's so hard and so complicated, it creates an atmosphere to where we're not on top of what's important in our businesses, and things go way over our head because it's too hard and daunting to understand and try to go through it all. So what we've done, and this little branch toggle will follow us no matter where we are within Insight. But what we've done is that as you create your account, essentially you just drag and drop all your branches to your locations, and then we aggregate all that data into one. So with clicks of a button, I'm able to understand how each and every location is performing within seconds. So if I want to say, okay, well, show me my performance here so far in our Hollywood location, boom, click of a button, there you have it. For Pierce, Orlando, I'm able to see all my metrics with a click of a button. And I'm able to understand at a very high level where I am in relation to where I want to be. And this allows us to go ahead and create goals that everyone's on the same page with. This is how we engage our employees, because whichever branch that our employees work out of, they'll see these numbers, right? And they'll know that, hey, if our goal for the month is 35% recovery rate, every time they log into Insight every single day, they see this. They see where we are at any given time, and it keeps them engaged and it keeps them informed on where the company needs to be or what our goals are. And it creates accountability, and it gets them involved with everything. So this allows you to see and allows you to do that. And last but not least, certainly not least, is, leaderboards. Again, this is something that we've done that is completely unique to this industry. Again, I'm going on 17 years in this business, and for whatever reasons, we've never really been able to track performances on these 2 roles right here, your spotters or your camera car drivers. So this does not exist anywhere. And it's such a crucial piece of data that we all need to understand because it is impactful in very, very many different ways. So spotters and camera car drivers, right? We've created the ability to spot cars on Insight. And whenever a car gets spotted on Insight, um, what happens is a couple things, right? First and foremost, it automatically creates a leaderboard. And so now you're able to see the productivity of your spotters, which again, historically, we've never been able to do unless you have some crazy spreadsheet that you're keeping track of in a very manual way. It doesn't exist outside of Insight, at least from what I understand, the best of my knowledge. So for the first time, you're able to track their performance. Again, huge. We need to be able to understand the performance of the people that we're paying to be in the field. Because if we don't understand where they are, how can we ever improve? We can't. So very, very, very crucial. So spotters. Not only do we, whenever someone spots a vehicle on Insight, not only are we able to track and actually understand their production numbers, but we also tag that too. And so what I mean by that is that if you have to understand, I want everyone to understand that we're in a time right now where lenders aren't stupid, right? This whole industry is very contingent. And so they know that once we, when we receive an account, we're going to run it a couple times. We don't get paid close fees. So if it's there, we'll pick it up. If it's not, the account's going to get ran a couple times, right? So it's in their best interest that they move these accounts between a reasonable amount of time because it ensures that the accounts will get worked. They know, they understand that. So what they've done is that they've created what we call time automations, right? On accounts, the vast majority of accounts that we receive have some form of time automation attached to them, whether that's 10 days, 15 days, sometimes 20 days, which is rare these days. And what happens is that we could be in the process of picking up a car will get spotted, and for whatever reason, the car is blocked in, it's behind a gate. You make a call on that voluntary, and they tell you they're out of town and they're not giving it up until next week. Whatever the circumstance might be, nobody's checking notes in RDN. Nobody, not the lenders, not the, nobody. We aren't whenever we close the accounts. And so what happens is that every time a time automation takes its place before we have an opportunity to pick up those cars, since we tag it in Insight, what happens is that if any of these cars that get spotted in Insight go on a hold or a closed status in RDN, immediately we're going to go ahead and send out an email that looks exactly like this as soon as I bring it to you right away. And we'll send you an email and we'll notify you and saying, hey, by the way, this account that you spotted, well, it's now on a hold or a closed status in RDN. And what this does, it creates the visibility to be able to track how many times this happens a month. But most importantly, this is where we get this whole missed repossession number right here. And these are real numbers. 160 times we've had accounts that were spotted that closed before we had an opportunity to pick it up. And so we notify everyone, the management team, your management team, if you're a customer of Insight, that this account has gone to a close or a hold status. Here's a pre-populated email that's been designed for you to forward to your client if you want to have the account reopened. Because sometimes, it might be behind a locked gate and, you've already made contact. They told you to kick rocks. And so you don't want to deal with it anymore. And whenever that happens, fine, no problem. But we give you the visibility to make those decisions. Those are data-driven decisions. And so what we want to encourage is everyone not to lose out on any opportunities that you spent time, money, and resources on finding. These come at our expenses. Every car we find, we're the ones that bear the expense, nobody else. So we want to make sure that all agencies don't lose out on any opportunities due to time automations. So we made this feature. Now, with all that being said, what's really cool about this feature is that when you click on this card right here, what we've done is that we've tracked the progress for you, right? So when you click on this, not only do we show you how many times a month it happens, that's this number right here, but we also record how many cases you get reopened and how many of your reopened cases that result in repossessions. So just based on, for us at Rapid Recovery, we average between like 12 and 15 of these a month that result in repossessions. Right now, we still have a week left and we're at 14, right? So to put a dollar value on that, for us, um, yeah, that's almost $10,000 of additional revenue that Rapid Recovery was able to bill out and have as a result of this just one feature, right? Just this one feature, $10,000 worth of revenue that, again, I would have been completely blind and ignorant of had it not been for this feature. So very important, but also it shows you, who are those major contributors of that happening. And you're able to dissect the data as much as you need to, but actionable KPIs that this brings awareness to. Now, also the leaderboards, right? These leaderboards were designed for multiple different reasons, right? And just to kind of put some context into all this, right? Every single leaderboard that we have, it's been designed to bring awareness, and it's been designed to bring accountability, and it's also been designed to create competition. And so every single driver that we have in the field, again, for the first time, we're able to see performance for every person that we employ into the field, which is huge. We've never been able to look at these numbers, right? We've never been able to look at spotters and their performance. We've never been able to look at individual camera car drivers and their performance metrics. And so with this, we're able to look and to calculate things that we've never been able to calculate before because we've never been able to see the data. Now this data is here. And so for the agents, for instance, with clicks of a button, I'm able to see at a very high level where exactly which each one of my drivers are at. And what this allows me to do, obviously, to not only see who's a top performer and who's, average and who's at the bottom, but this allows me to make informed decisions as I progress through each month, right? So based on these leaderboards within a matter of seconds, I'm able to identify, who's average, who's kind of like the low bearing fruit. And, for the people that are towards the bottom, this allows you the ability and the visibility to, have those conversations that might need to be had, right? Of, hey, your performance is a little low compared to everybody else. The average is, 50 cars and you're struggling at 25. Is there something that we need to go over again? It creates the opportunity for the person to be retrained, maybe to put on a performance plan or, whatever the case may be, whatever business decision that needs to be made. But again, it brings that visibility that's always been very, very hard to get. And we have to understand that these people, these three people or groups of people are the lifeblood of our industry, right? We can't function without these people. And now you're able to track their performance and their metrics individually for every single position, which again, historically, we've never been able to do. So very easy on these leaderboards. They're all defaulted in total, but you can easily, with clicks of buttons, you're able to break down the types, like between the agents from invols and voluntaries, from spotted, from the total of the total spotted vehicles, how many of them resulted in repossession secured, how many of them closed before we had opportunities to repossess them. We have a direct integration into DRN. And what that DRN integration allows us to do is that it allows us to create unique IDs and passwords for every single driver that we have. And so when they go to log on to Car Detector, what happens is that instead of using the same ID and password that everybody uses, again, they have their own unique credentials, and everything they do in the field now funnels right into Insight. And so for the very first time, you're able to see on an individual basis what each camera car driver is producing in the field in terms of their scan count, as well as their live hits, right? So you could toggle all that data. And then on top of that, all their live hits that result in repossessions. And all this is clickable, right? So if you ever need to say, hey, show me, you can hit view all or break it down from your invols, your vols, your impounds. But you can click on these things and it will bring it up from greatest to least, and you could break it down as much as you need to. So all very, very important information that has been historically very hard to see and understand. And now we give it all to your at your fingertips. And to also, in addition to all of that, I wanted to go ahead and bring the attention to on the most important metric that we all need to be paying attention to. And what that is this number right here in blue, right? This recovery rate. This is by far the most important number for every single repossession agency because this number dictates this number, and this number dictates this number, and this number dictates how much money that the company can actually make and generate, right? So this recovery rate is by far the most important number that I think everyone needs to really try to put it as tight of a grip on it as you possibly can. And some of my success and what I want to share with you of what we have been able to do at Rapid Recovery is Insight has allowed me the visibility to make informed, intelligent decisions. And so the way that we've been able to grow, I don't know if you've noticed, but like in our assignments, we don't work with forwarders. These are all direct relationships. I might get, forwarder work here and there because we're forced to from, direct lenders to work their accounts. But other than that, all of our volume comes from direct relationships. And I don't mean that to boast or to brag or anything like that. I'm on cloud nine right now with even being able to say that. It's such a fresh breath of air, and I don't take it for granted. I hope it stays, but whatever. We're riding a wave right now. The point that I'm making is that with that, I've never, and for me to be able to grow my assignment count and be able to grow my book of business to where I can actually make decisions to say no to the forwarders, um, it's the data that I'm looking at. So what's been beneficial for us is that what we've done is we had conversations with our clients, right? The data allows you to have these conversations. Hey, Mr. Client, if we're able to perform better than our competitors, is there an opportunity to receive more volume? And the answer has always been yes. There's never been a time I've had that conversation with a lender and they told me no, like literally never. It's in their best interest as well. They want agencies that perform at the best, whether that's a forwarder or a direct lender. They want people that perform, right? The more cars we pick up, the more money that they make. So it's not rocket science, right? They want to give the lion's share of volume to everyone that performs. So, by understanding these recovery rates, what you're able to do is you're able to go ahead and create goals and create goals that allow you the visibility to make informed decisions all throughout the month in order to get those numbers up to its highest possible mark. I think we're doing okay on time. So I'm going to, Tony, give me a thumbs up. We're good on time, right? Okay. So the next section of Insight, I'm going to leave the overview page and I'm now going to segue into our report section. And I'm only going to focus on a section, one simple section, because I don't think time will permit for other things. But this is what we call the client list. And what this is, it's a real-time scorecard for every single client that we have. And I can't stress the importance of being able to see and understand these numbers because this will be the pulse of your success. And understanding these numbers will allow you to scale in ways that you've never even knew to be possible, and allows you to make informed, intelligent decisions all throughout the course of the month. And we encourage all of our users to come into this page a few times a week, because what this page allows you to do, first and foremost, is that it allows you to see all those metrics that we looked at in overview for every single client, right, in real time. So what I'm looking at is my assignment counts, my repossessions, our missed repossessions, and then our recovery rate. And again, we're comparing it to the same time period the year before. So everything that we see in green, those are green lights, man. We're good to go, baby. But everything that's in red, those bring awareness, right? Those are red flags, and we want them to be red flags, and they should be easily visible to all of us. Like, what are those red flags and what do they mean to my operation? And so everything that you see in red, again, it's been designed to stand out. And so what this allows me to see and do is like, just at a very high level, if I'm looking, and remember, this branch toggle follows me wherever I'm at. So whatever I'm looking at, with clicks of buttons, I'm able to go ahead and break this data down for every single location, which is very beneficial. But back to the company wide, if I'm looking at my holistic viewpoint for my entire operation, what I want to be conscious of is volume, right? Volume dictates how many repossessions we could ultimately make, right? Or have. And volume should always be going up or steady, right? There shouldn't be any big jumps and differences like this. This is a red flag. I know the reason behind this, but if I didn't, I would immediately I would be like, hey, Capital One, what's going on? Did we do something wrong? Did we lose our volume? It creates the visibility for me to make business decisions. And I'm going to give you some real life scenarios that happened here at Rapid Recovery because I think that everyone could benefit from them. So, the Westlake is by far our biggest client. As you can see, they're just dumping assignments on us, which we're very, 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 very grateful for. But also, there's there's a yin and a yang, right? So the flip side, the downside to that is that if our volume drops for Westlake, that is very impactful for our operation, right? That's a big deal. And in September of 2023, a couple months ago, our volume dropped like I want to say it was like 68% overall as a company and over 90% in our main market, right? Our main office. And we noticed it right away within the first, few days of the month. And we figured, hey, it's a new month, maybe they're just gonna bulk us a bunch of assignments. And that didn't happen. So we waited like 4 days and nothing. And so by being able to see that very easily and quickly, it prompted a phone call and an email, phone calls and emails. And it said, hey, Mr. Client, what's going on? Did we do something wrong? Did we lose our market share? Let us know. And they did an investigation on their end. They found out that there was an error, a bug in their assignment distribution logic. And come to find out, it took them like a week to fix. But at the end of the day, had I not had that visibility, I would have never known about it, and that would have equated to tens of thousands of dollars of lost revenue because I wasn't able to identify it quickly. And this allows you to identify things very, very quickly at a very, very, very high level. And what we're looking at too, again, is also broken down from each location. If I say, hey, my overall performance, not a performance, I'm sorry, my overall assignment count is down for Capital One, this allows me with just clicks of a button to identify where. Well, where am I down in my overall volume? I have 5 locations. Let's figure it out. So if I go ahead and I say, okay, well, is it Orlando? So I look in Orlando, I say, no, I'm pretty steady here in Orlando. It's not Orlando. Is it Tampa? I go in here and I say, nope, I'm up. My volume's up in Tampa. It's 23% up. Is it Jacksonville? Okay, well, this number isn't that big of a deal, too much. We're looking at, 14 different assignments, not that big of a deal, but it's still down 23%. How about our main location? And then we're able to go ahead and find out that here's the big contributing factor. It's our main location. We don't have the market share anymore. And I'm able to see that quickly and understand that very quickly, which allows me to make adjustments if I need to, or, make a phone call, whatever the case may be. The point is that the visibility is now there, which we haven't had historically. And again, extremely beneficial. Another way to look at all this is that, as you could see, we've incorporated a recovery rate goal for every single client. And what this goal allows you to do is that every single client here they're all clickable. In which, by the way, before I get into that, we just released a really, really big feature within the platform, which allows you the visibility to see all these metrics for every lien holder that sends you assignments. Say this a different way. If you work for forwarders or any direct lender that has a portfolio, with this little drop-down button, by clicking on it, all these metrics now become available for every single lien holder. So if you're working forwarders and your overall performance might be 30% or whatever the case may be, which is good, don't get me wrong, but by looking at the lien holders, what you're able to do is weed out all the ones that are not profitable. And I have a pretty good idea that, this 13% recovery rate that we have for this US auto sales portfolio, there's 212 assignments that we've worked for this, and we're at a success rate of 13.2%. I could almost guarantee you with certainty that we're losing money running these assignments. I could almost guarantee you that we are unprofitable with this portfolio. So this creates visibility, right? Again, you have to understand this is a contingent market that we all live in today, and not understanding the assignments that you're working and not understanding your success rate is going to drive you to the ground. And this creates the ability for you to see that for every single forwarder, for every single lien holder that is sending assignments into your company. With a click of a button, you now have all that data at your fingertips. And you're able, I know we're in January right now, but we have a year-to-date feature too, a toggle that allows you to, if you're 6, 8, 9 months into the year, you're able to see, hey, through the last 6 months or so, what does this look like on a year-to-date level? And if you're down, if it's anything below, in my opinion, 15%, and I might even be wrong about that, but I'm almost positive that anything below 15% is not profitable to the organization, which is something that we have to clean up as an industry. Like, we're working junk accounts, and we're putting forth the money and the effort to work these assignments, and it's costing us money, nobody else. So now that we have the ability to have the visibility to see who's profitable and who's not, again, this allows you the information to make wise business decisions within your company. And you could do this for every single client that you work with. And it will allow you to see that. So back to that, every single client that we have here, again, it's clickable. And if we go ahead and we click on a client, it allows us to see other things that we wouldn't normally see. All these same metrics that we just looked at, the only difference here is that you're able to click on them and break the data down if you need to. But also what we've done is that we've created the ability for you to see 4 years worth of data for that very specific client. And so what I mean by that is, again, today's the 24th, and what it's showing me is for a 4-year trend for Ally on my assignments, my repossessions, and my recovery rate. And what that means is that, again, today's the 24th of the month. So from the 1st through the 24th of 2024, 23, 22, and 21, this allows me to see at a very high level, hey, is my performance going up? Is it going down year over year? Is my recovery rate going up? Is it going down year over year? Am I kind of, stagnant? Like, this creates the visibility for all of that. But also, in addition to all of that, you're able to set goals for every client that you have. And this is what we want to encourage everybody, right? We want to find the clients that matter most to you. And whoever those important clients are, have those conversations with the client. They will tell you where you need to be. I've never had a client conversation where they say, hey, if you want the lion's share volume, you have to, they'll tell you the exact percentage of where you need to be. Okay, your competitor's at 40%. If you can consistently perform at 40% or higher over 90 days, typically, we'll go ahead and we'll adjust your volume. So once you have these conversations, once you have that knowledge, you come back in here into insight, you say, okay, well, my goal is 40, my target recovery rate goal is 40%. We have it set at 45. And you could do a goal of year to date or month to date. You could break it down by location if you need to. But if I say, for instance, my target recovery rate goal is 40% and I hit save, what it's going to do, it's automatically going to show me where I am in relation to attaining that goal, right? I'm 92% of the way there, but it's also going to calculate exactly how many cars I need as of right now in order to achieve that goal. So if we picked up 33 more Ally cars as of right now, we would be at our goal of 40%. So a way for you to put plans in action, you create bonus plans or incentives for your drivers, and this allows you to be able to do that in order to achieve your goals that you want to set for your company and for yourselves. And so whatever we set here is going to essentially funnel right back down into here. And that way, when you come into this list and you look at this and you analyze this all throughout the week or throughout the month, you're able to see exactly where you are in relation to hitting that. And so again, what this allows you to do is make actionable movements, right? Like, hey, I'm 50% of the way there for Westlake. I need to make an action. It's first and foremost three things, right? Identify the problem. Once you have the problem identified, formulate a plan. You need a plan of action of how you're gonna, achieve the goal it is that you want to set. And then, you have to implement. The third thing is take action. You have to go ahead, take your plan, put it to action, and do something about it. And this allows you to identify what those things are in order for you to create the plan and then to ultimately take action in order to get those numbers up. And this has allowed rapid recovery for us to say, hey, all these clients that we're not really making a lot of money on, let me go ahead, let me say no to them, and let me focus my attention on the ones that matter most. And by doing that, we were able to essentially, the ones that pay us the most and the ones that treat us the best, we're able to make informed, intelligent business decisions and take all of our resources and put them towards that, as opposed to the ones that aren't making us money and aren't profitable and treat us like crap. And that's the story to our success and what we've been able to do. I know we have 30 more minutes scheduled. And before we open up, oh, actually not before, we're going to open up the Q&A. There's a lot of other things that Insight does and has the capability of doing. But I wanted to give you uh, a little spoon feed before we get into anything else. And if you guys want to see more of Insight, we're gonna put a link out into the chat, and this will allow you to put your information in and request a demo, and we'll get online with you and we'll show you a more in-depth conversation or demonstration, should I say, of the system. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and I'll leave it to you, Tony.
Brennan, you shared some gold there. We've got a handful of questions, and we're just going to take them in order. Is that all right? Why don't we start with, oh, Brennan, you're muted out.
Okay, I'm back.
All right. So Dan Heath mentioned, he said you indicated that the best ratio of files to field personnel is 100-1. Does that
Yeah.
does that number vary based on geography or other factors?
So great question, man. And we want to enhance this study, not just on a company-wide level, but we're going to test the theory for sure, because we're able to break it down by location, which we haven't done yet. So we were kind of like, for the sake of this call, we wanted to put something together. I can't give you the answer to that yet. I have not broken it down by location. I just kind of did like our overall numbers, and then I pieced it together that way. But I'm super intrigued by it, and I'm going to do that, and I'll let you know what it results in. But we were able to see from that little bar graph that we did, we were able to see that, if the when we keep that ratio to its lowest, we perform the best. Our next best month outside of that was like we had a couple months in the 35%, and it was relatively similar to that right around that 100 mark. So it seems to be very, very accurate, but preliminary right now.
Okay. Follow up to that from Dan as well. In your analysis, where is the best balance of profitability and recovery rate? Have you determined where that range is best, where profitability and recovery rates, pardon me, have you determined where that range is best, where profitability and recovery rates and service to customers align?
Yeah, great question. So I actually had a quick discussion with Mr. Cross, the man, the myth, the legend on this, a few weeks ago, maybe even a month ago or so. And that's what we want to try to identify. Everyone's going to be different because every lender pays different, every customer pays different. And you have to really take his formula and you have to put some data to it, to that science for every client. And you need to find out what your recovery rate needs to be for that very specific client. So it does require some time, but we both agree that despite that, even if if we deal with averages, right? Or high paying clients, we both agreed, and we don't have any data to back this up. This is all based on just experience and guessing, educated guesses, that anything below 15% is pretty much unprofitable. Might as well just literally write a check and send it to the lender because you're not making money. There's a cost associated for every account that we run, and which, by the way, is something also that we're working on to see exactly how many updates are being done for every single recovery and how many addresses are run for every single repossession for every single lender. So we're getting more and more advanced with this, but to answer the question, it you have to put some math to it to really understand.
Um, so from Vaughn Clemens, have you cut off clients once you found that they're unprofitable? And if so, uh, what do those conversations look like? How do they go?
Yeah, so great question. Boy, I was trembling in my boots when we made that decision because obviously they were a crucial part to our operation, and that was a big gamble. It paid off for us, and we were very fortunate that it did. But those conversations, honestly, man, like, I had maybe one of them, and we worked with all of them. We worked with Primaris, we worked with PAR, we worked with Location, LPS. I mean, literally all of them, and the majority of them, like, no phone, like, and I'm talking for years. Like, some of these relationships are like 15 plus, like 10 plus years, right? And one of them did reach out and had a conversation with me, but they couldn't make it happen. They couldn't give us an increase in our fees where we needed to be at, and we had to make the decision. So we again just focused our attention on the ones that cared and the ones that were able to allow us to be successful in the operation. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to make this phone call about fees or anything like that, but man, like, we almost went out of business during COVID. We were scratching to took out loans and everything just to make payroll, and it happened for a very long time. And I had some really sincere conversations with the people that we were working with, and we needed fees increased because I don't want to go through this again. I've made too many bad business decisions historically that I didn't want to keep repeating the cycle. So I had to position the company in a manner to where, if something drastic like COVID happens again, we at least have enough cushion to sustain it without having to go through the suffering that we went through during the course of COVID. So yeah, some of them cared, most of them didn't. If that answers your question, Vaughn.
So, Brennan, this is just a follow-up from me. It sounds like tracking these numbers gave you the information to be able to make decisions based on it. It helped, if not eliminate, at least reduce the fear of making those difficult decisions that on the surface is saying you're thinking, well, I'm I'm cutting off the hand that feeds me. Is that accurate?
Yeah, 100%,
Okay.
100%.
Um, Follow up from Jeremy real quick. Have you had any direct conversations with lenders using this data to show them that you're measuring their production against that you're pardon me, that you're measuring their production against peers, and how have those conversations gone?
Yes, absolutely. Um, so they're mixed. Most everyone embraces it, right? I've also tried using this data to showcase our worth too, right? In increasing fees. Um, most have been receptive, some of them haven't been. But at the end of the day, this allows us to see what our value is and what we bring to the table. And when we identify our value, this allows us to be better positioned on having those conversations because if at the end of the day I could consistently show that my performance is, 5, 10% better than the person that's doing it next to me, that equates to a dollar value, right? And that shows worth, right? I could say, okay, well, that 10% equates to 20 cars a month that I'm bringing to the table that you don't have if you don't have me, right? And this allows the opportunity to say, hey, those 20 cars, additional cars that you wouldn't have had without me, there's a dollar value associated with that. And we want to be able to, not only do we show you what we could do, but we want to turn that into a conversation that will allow us to be paid what our worth should be based on how we perform. And this gives us, again, that visibility to showcase that in a very, very meaningful way. And we're working on enhancing that to make it easier to share with the lender, to show metrics that, again, have been very, very hard to see and understand. And then we want to encourage our users to share that data with your lenders, especially obviously when you're performing well, because these open those doors of conversations in order to better enhance your company and be better positioned to have those awesome conversations of raising fees.
All right, we've got an anonymous question.
Sure.
How long do you allow a client to run single-digit recovery rates before you cut them off, or do you continue to accept and just lower their priority?
I, I personally don't have any right now, so I can't answer that. What you saw in Westlake, I mean, our overall performance with them is, it's typically around 25 to 30%. It's just that one portfolio of them is what was low, but I personally wouldn't accept their assignments. So, and what I would advise you to do is that, when you work with forwarders, you have the you have the benefit of working with a lot of different banks, right? A lot of them perform very well, a lot of them don't. So what this allows you to see is the exposure of the ones that don't, and we want to encourage you to stop accepting those. I mean, obviously everyone makes their own business decisions, but this now creates the visibility for you to make better business decisions. Say, hey, we want to keep working, keep sending us these assignments, but all these ones with 3, 5, 7, 8, 10% recovery rates, we're going to decline because we're literally not profitable. And the more people that do that, I think will invoke more change from the industry because, man, we're running these accounts and we're wasting money. The reason why a lot of these businesses are failing is because we're blindly running assignments, costing us money to do that, and we're not seeing a profit from it. And we have to be profitable. We have to make money. And if we don't, what's going to happen? Same thing. COVID wiped out what, 30% of the industry? That's a big number, right? Um, so again, this intelligent decisions, this allows the visibility to make intelligent decisions and say no when it's obvious.
Follow up from Dan. Outside of setting goals with them, what strategies have you used to create partnerships with the lenders so that both your visions and interests are aligned?
Yeah. So, those are the conversations that you have during the course of a scorecard or, any random phone call that you want to have with the lender. You ask them, what's important to you and where do I need to be? How do I, you know, what do I need to do to be at the top of your list? And they'll tell you, man, like I haven't had a conversation where someone was secretive about anything. They'll tell you exactly what they're looking for, what they want, what the expectation is. And this allows for you to work towards that common goal and see it and understand it as it's happening. And one of the things that I usually, put in a pitch, when I'm doing a demo of the product is, if you wait for a scorecard, if you ever get a scorecard in the first place, it's already too late, man. The damage has already been done. They're going to adjust those volumes. And in 2024, a lot of these things, they do it in an automated fashion. So we're losing less, like there's less and less impersonable conversations of having with these lenders where the relationship matters. Because now usually systems are set up that, hey, whoever's performing the most gets the most. And the volume adjust itself accordingly. So I would say have that conversation with the lender, find out what's important to them, and take note of it, man, and put that to practice. Whatever goal you could set an insight for your recovery rate and your performance, hold on to that. Like, make it actionable in your business. Set that goal, have a conversation with your drivers, and then for your operations team, get them involved too. Like, anyone and everyone that's in operations needs to see this type of data, because when you see it, you could easily adjust for it during the course of that month, not waiting to the last minute. And you know, if we like, there's a thing that we do here at Rapid, we call it push weekend. And essentially what that means is that at the end of the month, the last weekend of every single month, we try to do a free for all, which we overpay for every single car that gets picked up during the course of anyone wants to work that weekend. And we get cars that way, and it brings our numbers up at the end of the month. And our goal always is to make sure that our numbers at the end of the month are as high as we could possibly get them, for every single client that matters most to us. And, you know, all of our clients obviously matter to us. So we try to do that for everyone. So those are some ideas that you could have, but you know, it's adjusting all throughout the course of the week and all throughout the course of the month, man. If you see that you're failing for this one person at this one location, identify it and be like, okay, well, for this week, we're going to run nothing but Westlake, for instance, and you change all those icons back to new on ClearPlan, and you get your guys involved and putting that on the streets. And that way you can go in and you could run that a little bit more frequently in order to get those numbers up. So that's the beauty of it being in real time.
So how does the data for spotters link to the leaderboards? Is there an additional step that they have to take in the field to get that information to transfer?
Yeah, super. That's a great question. Um, Here, let me just, I'll try and show you as quickly as I possibly can. Yeah, sure.
There you go. We got you.
This is, okay. So this is a design. Don't pay attention to the numbers. Oh, we're on the right one. Bear with me. Sorry. Okay. So this is what it looks like for our mobile app. And it's a very, very, very simple process. In order to spot a car, they just open up the app and then they'll go ahead and hit this little spot vehicle button. And then they put the last 6 digits of the VIN in. The account will populate if the account is open in RDN. If it's not open in RDN, and it's like, for instance, a live hit, users have the ability of creating what we call a spotting alert, which as soon as it comes into RDN, we'll be checking that for the next 3 days. And if it matches, we'll give the credit. But if and when that account is open, the account will automatically populate. The driver will have to pick one of two options. Is the car accessible or is it obstructed? And then whatever RDN addresses are on that account will automatically come in here. And so all they have to do is check a box. And I promise you, man, like, this is a 10-second process to the spotter. This doesn't take away from ClearPlan. It doesn't take away from the flow that they would have, like they would normally do. All of our drivers are Rapid. They still use ClearPlan. They still confirm every account that they find. This is an additional step, but I don't have time to explain all of it. But this also eliminates other steps that you guys also might be doing. But they just check a box of the location. They'll write any internal note that they want for the agent. You know, VIN's been verified, nosed in, backed in, behind lock gate, whatever the case may be. And then they hit submit, and then boom, the car's been spotted. And so as soon as that happens, it will automatically generate the stat on the leaderboard. And then it also notifies the agents that a car is now pending repossession. And they have that opportunity to pick it up. But uh, for another time, I can go through all that and that flow later. But yeah, it's an additional process.
So along those lines, have the have your employees pushed back on the performance tracking, or have they embraced it? Because some drivers or spotters, they tend to complain if they feel one is getting more than they are. How do you overcome this
Great,
transparency?
awesome question, man. And you know, at the end of the day, do do people complain? Yes, like that's no secret, right? People complain, especially with anything that's new. People don't like change instinctively, naturally, right? But as far as the people that are complaining about seeing their leaderboards and having it be visible for everyone, I do not have a lot of people that complain about that. In fact, I have more people. Our production has organically grown all on its own just because of these leaderboards. And what it does, right? It here's my, and I'm sure every single agency has the same exact story. I've caught my drivers, watching Netflix at strip clubs, sleeping in the car. I mean, everything that they're like, literally, if they're in one area, right, they'll come off their route, drive an hour in the opposite direction to take their lunch, and then drive back to work. Like the most frustrating things, right? And it's been so hard. The bigger I got, the harder it was to manage because the more it's just too many pieces that you're trying to put together at any given time. So what this leaderboard does is that it creates accountability for them because they know that everyone sees it. And then also it creates the competition, and it's a healthy competition because everyone wants to be at the top. Everyone wants to be in the top three, that gold, that silver, that bronze. And you know, I could show you again if I share my screen, but those numbers are always very, very close. Like it gets super competitive, especially towards the end of the month, all of which that are within a couple of numbers of a difference from one another. Like just because everyone wants to end of the month, and we incentivize it too. So the people that hit the top, they get a bonus every month. So some people do complain about it, but honestly, for the ones that do make a really big deal about it because they're performing lowly, those are the people that you want to identify in the first place. Hey, with this poor performance that you have, what do we need to do? Do we need to retrain you? Do we have to look at you a little bit closer to see what you're doing exactly all throughout the course of your shift? Like these bring up the red flags, the questions that you need to have. Well, why are you only finding X and everyone else is finding Y? You have the visibility now to see that, and then at the end of the day, make business decisions. But at least they're intelligent now.
Helpful. That's super helpful. Okay, it doesn't look like we've got any other questions. Brennan, did you have uh an offer specifically for ARA members?
Yes, we do. And I'm going to actually go ahead and bring it down to Dimitri, and Dimitri is going to take it from here.
All right. Let me make sure. Hang on one second.
My J.
Yeah, you're good. We got you, Dimitri.
Awesome. Hey everybody, good evening. Thank you, Tony, both Tonys, for allowing us to host here and demonstrate our platform. Great job, Brennan. So for all of the attendees here today, we actually have a 60-day free trial that we're giving out. I'm going to be posting a link in the chat. This link will take you to a webpage where you can easily sign up. We'll get you guys on board. A couple steps that are taken when coming on board with us. We're gonna have to request your API key from RDN. That's where we funnel in all our data into Insight, and we also have to request your API key from DRN if you're an affiliate. So through that link, if you're willing to sign up, we're offering a 60-day free trial for all of the attendees today. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll be able to schedule a demo with us as well. And yeah, thanks again, guys. Thanks for everybody who came along. And that's it for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Dimitri. Does everybody see the link in the chat? We good? All right. And we'll send that out to everybody that attended too. Okay, well, that was awesome. I'm not in the repossession business, but I am in business. And one of the most important things that I've learned over the course of many years, and Brennan, I've made a ton of mistakes too. And looking back, I can almost always point to the fact that I made a decision either with incomplete information or with inaccurate information. And those, I can't stress enough how important it is to understand the numbers in your business that drive revenue. Understand the business, that is the key to understanding your business. And there are some much more seasoned business owners in the room today than I am, but I can definitely attest that this is the KPIs are crucial to be able to have the clarity in your business, to be able to make wise business decisions, regardless of how you define what those wise business decisions are. If you want to build efficiency, great. If you want to grow, scale, great. You need clarity. And so this was super helpful for me personally. So I appreciate it, Brennan. So what we're going to do real quickly, just to close us out, Tony Long, ARA's executive director, is going to share a few words and take us home. Tony, it's all yours.
Thank you, Tony, Brennan, and Dimitri. And with pun intended, that was great insight. And it's important for us to know the many options that are available to our industry from all of our business partners. While ARA does not endorse specific products or suppliers, we hope you take information from this and other presentations to help your business be more successful. These webinars are courtesy of the American Recovery Association and through the support of its many members. If you haven't joined or renewed your ARA membership for 2024, now's the time. And you can do so by visiting repo.org, which is listed at the top of your chat box, repo.org. We want to remind you also that the North American Repo Summit, or NARS, is rapidly approaching, and by all indications, this will soon be a sold-out conference. The beautiful Signia Hotel at Bonnet Creek in Orlando will host this year's event on April the 11th and 12th. Some rooms are still available, so please visit reposummit.com today, and I'll also put that in your chat box. Some rooms are still available, so visit today. Stay tuned for agenda updates and networking opportunities. We have some first-time unique offerings for this year. And we want to thank you again for joining us, and we'll see all of you again on the next ARA webinar. Have a great day.